let us talk now about the Grammys, because nothing pleases me more when you get these awards ceremonies now of seeing quite how woke and ridiculous celebs are going to get, because it's like it just becomes a woke off. And right now, haven't they all got the perfect excuse in America, because Donald Trump's actually deporting people, and so all of this sort of ICE and anti-ICE stuff, they love it, don't they? They can't wait to sink their teeth into it. Let's speak to the brilliant Steve N. Allen, comedian and broadcaster. There you are, look like a missing member of UKIP with that backdrop. Let's have a little montage, shall we, of the woke off that was the Grammys, first of all, and then I'm going to let you rip over it.
No one is illegal on stolen land. I feel like we just need to keep fighting and speaking up and protesting, and our voices really do matter, and the people matter, and I say sorry.
Congratulations, Billie Eilish. Wow. That is a Grammy that every artist wants. Almost as much as Trump wants Greenland. Which makes sense. I mean, because Epstein's island is gone, he needs a new one to hang out with Bill Clinton. So, I told you it's my last year. What are you going to do about it?
I'm going to say, eyes out. We're not savage, we're not animals, we're not aliens, we are humans, and we are Americans.
You're not really, if you've broken into a country and are there illegally. The likelihood is you're very much not American, right? Clues in the title. I mean, these people, there was one of them, I can't remember who it was, saying, you know, America's a country built on immigrants. I'm like, yeah, pretty much the British.
Yeah, good point, well made. That line of, no one's illegal on stolen land. Everyone online then just posted the clips from a couple of years ago when Billie Eilish, who said that, also got a restraining order against someone who was on her property. So which one is it? You kind of have to pick, don't you? If no one can be legal on stolen land and you live in America, then surely any guy was just allowed to walk around your house. That's just the conclusion of what you're saying. It's an easy win, isn't it? If you're in front of that audience, you can just walk on there and just say, ICE, bad, Trump, bad, and you'll get cheers for it. So, I mean, the key is to not really pay attention to what a bunch of celebs who are up themselves think about stuff. That's how I try and live my life. But I'm also past it, so I've no interest in these people. I was reading the story and it was saying that Bad Bunny said things about ICE, and I was like, well, let me know what Good Bunny said, and that shows how old I am. I have absolutely no idea who most of these...
No,
the fact that Billie
literally
Eilish
the same.
is
It's
not a
like,
guy
there's
shocking.
some British person called Olivia Dean who's won stuff. I'm like, who's she then?
Yeah. I don't know if that's my fault for not being with it. Even the phrase with it's not with it. So I think we know how old I am. That's what I've just proved.
Shall we remind ourselves that beautiful moment when Ricky Gervais hosted, was it the Oscars? Oh, the Golden Globes, yeah. And gave a brilliant speech just tearing apart woke Hollywood. Let's have a look.
Apple roared into the TV game with a morning show, a superb drama about the importance of dignity and doing the right thing, made by a company that runs sweatshops in China. So you say you're woke, but the companies you work for, I mean, unbelievable. Apple, Amazon, Disney. If ISIS started a streaming service, you'd call your agent, wouldn't you? So if you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So if you win, right, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God.
Yes, exactly. Please. Steve, if you were given that gig, what would you be saying to them?
Well, there's no way I'd be over. I wouldn't be allowed that. That's the thing. It would seem to be the pendulum swimming back. You know, you'd want to just hold the reality up. You point out Billie Eilish, the idea that, you know, stolen land. If you actually follow all of this thing to its conclusion, you don't know which tribe fought which tribe for that land originally. That means there are very few places that could actually have the concept of someone not being allowed to be there. But it also means, by Billie Eilish's own logic, you find a nation that hasn't been invaded, then you better have some really strict immigration policies. She has to be in favour of that by her own logic. So, I mean, there's no point holding a mirror up to it, is there really? The key is just to realise that all they're doing is just, it is virtue signalling. They're shouting out to their audience, that thing that you're too young to really have any understanding of, that, I agree with you. You know, to get the kind of people who buy music probably aren't of the correct age to have a good understanding of what it's like to own a place, try and raise a family, and understand what the real world's like.
But the other thing is, you know, to realise that actually around 50% of the population disagree with their narcissistic performative sentiments. That's what I don't understand. Why not just zip it, do your music, do your little bit of acting, whatever it is, count the cash, go home, live a nice life?
I don't know why we've ended up in this place. I mean, look, we know that Hollywood and musicians have always leaned in a certain way, and that's kind of fine. You do whatever you want. You know, Joni Mitchell can moan about parking, which actually that just goes to show she doesn't know how difficult it is to park. Tear down some trees, put up some parking lots. I've reached that age where I'm in favour of that, actually. Parking is a nightmare. But, your entertainment industries have always been leaned that way. But now it's the loudest noise. Some of them you don't even get to hear the music. The music is half AI, half computer-generated with auto-tune up the wazoo. The only thing they seem to ever do is just emit their emotional attachment to news stories. I remember the days, and again, this will make me feel old, when I didn't need to know the political persuasions of the people who make the ice cream that I eat. And yet now here we are, where I need to know exactly what Ben and or Jerry would do about things. Why? Just make the best food. I'll buy that. Make the best music.
Because I sent a message to my mate just today, actually, because I introduced this, one of my besties. He's an ex-serviceman, so he's definitely not woke. And I introduced him to an artist called Bon Iver. I love Bon Iver, a little bit of Bon. I got him well into a bit of Bon, and so we're always sort of like exchanging tracks, like, isn't he great? Da, 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 da. Anyway, there he is. Now the world's getting to know who Bon Iver is. Doing an interview, banging on about, isn't ice evil? And I sent it to my mate, and it's like, it just really disappoints me. It does actually, genuinely now, the more extreme and woke these people are, it's making me not want to listen to their music, and I'll tell you for why. Because they're happy to cash checks off the back of all of this stuff. They're happy to make money by not standing up for normal values, because that's what it's all about. They just don't want to get cancelled. They want to get the gig to go and advertise the Ben & Jerry's ice cream. It's all about being driven by money and deliberately, willfully, because most of these people are not stupid, have a perverse idea of reality and ignore people who are genuinely really suffering, to vilify people who dare to actually speak out in the other direction. And I'm beginning to think it is just narcissism on a stick. It's actually desperately spiteful and unkind when these celebs are cashing their massive checks while the average Joe in America is really struggling because of rising street crime, because, whatever it may be.
Well, maybe I've got slightly more sympathy, because I think it is simply survival. Because these days, right, if you're a singer, then it's not really about how good you sound. As I said, you got the technology that can make things sound however. And it's never really been just about the sound, has it? It's about the way you look in the videos, the way you look in the promotional material, all of that stuff. So what you're trying to sell is a package. And you know that if suddenly if you Sydney Sweeney'd it, look at the pushback she's had for basically saying, I'm quite sexy, aren't I? Look at me, and I'm also white. Oh, what do you mean good genes? She was nearly thoroughly cancelled just for having those adverts. So you think if you need a job in the industry, the music industry, you kind of have to play along. Anyone who pushes back, unless you are like the biggest name.
But then that's my problem. These people have got millions in the bank account. If they've got a platform, they should use it for good. I quit my job at the BBC to go work for Nigel Farage back in 2009. That was like a wild decision. I trained as a journalist. I stood up for what I believed in. These people aren't believing the words coming out of their mouth. That's what I hate. They're actually doing a lot more to silence debate, to censor people, to perpetrate this whole sort of like ridiculous habit of calling everyone and everything a racist and a fascist. And it doesn't affect them. I think they're disgusting.
It's almost like the bystander effect, isn't it? They know that that everyone else is going to push in that direction, so if you just go along with it, then there'll be some sort of outcome that's okay with you. They fear it. Look, I know what you mean, millions in the bank, you then have the freedom to go with your principles. Their principles aren't bigger than the next million. I think that's what's happening. Yeah. They've got a career that they don't want to end. And they never got into it to change the world. They got into it to be a singer. And then the tide is moving, the flow is in that direction. I don't think a lot of them have the wherewithal to stop, stand still, take a look around, and then make their stand. So you got your Ricky Gervais and you've got your Sydney Sweeney, and that's basically the only two, isn't it? I'm sure there's some country music star who said something a bit right wing, but other than that, that's probably it.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I think actually now there's a gap in the market. If you do happen to suggest that you've got a mildly right-wing opinion, it is so sort of rare, it is so, you know, unusual that actually I think you could probably get, you know, a sort of head start on your rivals, because all of a sudden people, simply because you are the one and only star who says that they would be a Republican, people are probably going to go and buy your record just because of it.
Maybe. You could certainly get some coverage in the news. You could certainly get some standout on social media. Do you get booked by the venues? In the world of stand-up comedy, there are right-leaning comedians who just have the venues pulled from their tour.
Yes,
I'm
true.
not right-leaning. I'm willing to turn up and just talk sense about stories, but I'm not a natural right-winger or a left-winger, really. I'm just annoying. But even I've had times when there was a room in an Edinburgh show which I nearly didn't get because someone knew I worked on some of these media platforms that were a bit right-wing. So that's silencing. That's cancel culture, isn't it? Like, you're not even allowed to turn up to a place that might voice a dissenting opinion, whether you do or not.
But that's the thing. These people, with all the billions who are at the Grammys and at the Oscars, are the ones who's making it even more difficult for you. That's my argument. Talking about right-wing comedians, and I don't even know if Graham Linehan considers himself right-wing or not, but he's going to go over to the US to address Congress over threats to free speech. Good on him.
Yeah, I mean, I've gigged with him not that long ago, actually, when he was the trip before the one he was arrested on. We did a gig together, and yeah, I don't know if he probably doesn't think he's right-wing on all issues, but he's talking about this very serious issue, but I think he's slightly wrong on this. He said that Keir Starmer is ruining free speech and nothing will be fixed until he's gone, and he's half right on that. The trouble is, when Keir Starmer goes, it won't get fixed. I think the problem is deeper than that, because, yeah, sure, you get your Lucy Connolly stories, you get that, which makes you think we are living in a weird time. If you tweet something, you can end up in prison. What a ridiculous sentence. It didn't start when Labour got in, though. We need to admit this is a bigger social problem, because the Online and Safety Act, that was like 2014 or something, the first noise of that, and it was passed in 2023, 2022, one of that. The Tories, when they were in, they managed to move some policy that meant we don't quite have the right to protest that we did before. So this has been not just in the last few years, this has been a long creep, but it's very bad now. Was it 2024? There's the can't remember the name of the survey, but there's an international study about how open a country is. We went from open to somewhat limited or something. We are slightly more restricted in our free speech, and that's been measured by like international independent bodies.
Yeah, I keep seeing these sort of tables online that we top the tables, apparently, of chucking people into prison over things they put on social media. I don't know if it's true or not.
No, well, the standing that we had in that international study dropped because of it. And it should. What a ridiculous sentence. I still can't believe I live in the world where you get to say, well, the people who were put in prison because of the thing they put on Twitter. Twitter was where you just used to post about the tea that you'd had. Do you remember when it launched? The microblogging site, and now getting banged up for it. Ridiculous. But we know it's ridiculous. He's right that it's bad, but I think it's a bigger problem. Society's had this creep. It's not just been Starmer got in and all of a sudden we were afraid. We were afraid before. You couldn't voice your opinions without fear.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's been going on for ages, and you leave these things unchecked, and don't they half grow? Right,